Hey, it's Reimmerse. It's been a while. I got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna show some stuff at some points, but I just want to talk for a bit. So I have something playing in the background. I was trying to decide between this like kind of gameplay versus New Jeans video, and obviously this is a bit more cringe, but the one video with the most views has Karina in the thumbnail. So I think I gotta go for the thing that's gonna get the most views. So hopefully that will keep you interested while I talk for a bit. So obviously I haven't posted in a while. This is month 9, and the last one was month 6. And I know I accidentally posted that one 2 months late, so my bad on that. I actually uploaded it and then just never set it to public. But what happened? I had a rough couple months. October was kind of bad. November was really bad. Um, I honestly, that video is a really long time ago. I don't remember what I said in it, but I basically stopped studying like a week after. I was really depressed, and it was really challenging. I was barely immersing. Anki felt like a chore. I was pressuring myself to do just to keep up the streak. And like, to be fair, like the streak I kept up was insane, guys. Like 201-day streak. Like, I don't think I've ever done anything um for like every single day for that long. That's not like normal bodily functions, like that's crazy. Um and so it was really stressful, and I was not in a good place. And I think one day I just forgot, and then I stopped doing it. And I'd kind of taken a break, and I don't know when I started up again. I think after I got back from I went on vacation for New Year's. I think after I got back, these last couple months, or the last couple of weeks, really, I've been feeling a lot better, which is great. And I've had the motivation to start studying again. And I don't know when I actually did start studying again, but it's definitely the last couple of weeks have been really good. Um, I think I want to do it a little bit different this time. So what I said, and this is what I wrote when I kind of started studying, and I said what I'm doing going forward. So I wrote no Anki, and I think by the end it really felt like a chore. I did end up actually doing a little bit of Anki, and I'll talk about this a bit more later. But like, as you can see, like it's really not that fun. Or at least the kinds of cards I'm doing, I find it really challenging to get myself to do. And it's totally, while it definitely helps, it's totally possible to learn a lot without the SRS. So, I'm still kind of split on whether to continue the Anki. You'll notice I deleted all the decks. I basically wanted a clean slate. And I started over with these retro beginner decks. This is kind of a recurring theme. It's a little bit sad though, because we're on month 9. I mean, that's like 3/4 of a year, right? And although I definitely like am way past a beginner, I'm like doing these decks that like ideally, like if you look at the Korean fluency path, you like finish this deck, or these 2,000 word like beginner decks, you finish this in like month like 3, month like 5, right? And I'm on month 9, and I like just started it again. So that feels a little rough. And same for like Yonsei, right? Like I remember reading Yonsei like on like at like the end of school last year, which was like June, right? And it's been literally like 9 months since then, and I'm still like, I think I could reread Yonsei and like learn from it. So it's a little rough to feel like you spent 9 months and you're still I guess actually, like I don't actually think it would be. I think the most hard part about that is that on this YouTube channel, I'm not gonna lie, like I have been studying Korean for 9 months, but I think like a lot of other people at 9 months would probably be a lot farther. But I had some other circumstances, but I think that's where people are like, 9 months, what the fuck were you doing for 9 months if you're doing this kind of stuff now? But I think you just gotta go from where you're at, and I think this is where I'm at. And so my plan going forward is, and this is interesting because I wrote this a couple weeks ago, and I think it's been interesting how I've been playing out the last couple weeks. So no Anki, and I ended up doing a little bit of Anki, but again, still split on that. And I've been immersing. I've actually been immersing quite a lot, like more than I was before. So I've been watching. I've been listening to a podcast on the way to and from school. So that's like 40 minutes every day, and I think that's good. I mean, obviously, like the thing is at the start, like you're not even listening to understand. You're basically listening just to like teach your ears how to parse the different sounds of the language, right? Because um, that's a skill, right? Like to even hear the words, you have to know where like one word starts and the next word begins, right? And the problem is that I find that there's so little meaning. It's very easy to not be engaged, right? Like if you're listening to a podcast in English, it's literally impossible to not like, even if you're like trying not to pay attention, it's literally impossible not for you to understand that like at least some of the words that are coming through. But I'll sometimes like be listening to the podcast and, I'll hear a word I understand here or there, maybe like half of a sentence, but like I actually have no clue what's going on. Like I've listened to the podcast all the way through like 5 times. I literally could not tell you like anything about what they're talking about, right? And so I'll find that sometimes I'm driving and I'll just like stare at like a sign or like think about something else, and that will go on for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, wow, like I actually like I couldn't tell you anything about the last 30 seconds of the Korean. Like I literally just like stopped listening. And so that's a little bit challenging trying to stay engaged with something that is literal gibberish. But it's a good exercise. Outside of listening, I've been watching I have it pulled up here, Singles Inferno. Singles Inferno, I have been really engaged with. I was watching like another drama and I just like really wasn't into it, but Singles Inferno, it's like reality TV. I don't know if you guys know the show. It's like super reality TV. And the thing with reality TV is like it's very like gamey almost and like emotional, but like cheap emotional, And so it's very easy to understand what's going on, even if you like don't understand stuff. And this one in particular, it's like a dating show. And so it's very like, even you could like, if you showed someone who like didn't even understand Korean this show, like they could tell you like who likes who doesn't like who, right? Like it's super simple like that. And I found it very engaging, and I think it's really fun listening. And I haven't found myself kind of falling back to the crutch of English subs that I did with the web dramas back in like October. And there's definitely some conversations where I'll be like, this seems like a really important conversation. I really want to know what they say. Or it happens a lot with like a joke. Like they'll say something and then someone laughs. And so I'll go back and just like listen, like look in English, like what that thing says. But what I do this time is if I feel like I want to hear like this part in English, I'll force myself to listen to it in Korean, and then I'll go back and listen to watch it in English, and then I'll go back and watch it in Korean again. And so I think the reason why that's really important is it forces yourself to try to parse the most out of the Korean you can the first time, right? Because if you listen to the English and then go back and watch the Korean, like it's like takes a lot of like the hard work out of it, right? Like your brain like kind of already knows what's going to happen, so you're like not really reading as hard as you could, but like you're like, so the first time you just like really try to understand, and then you watch the English, right? So you know what it means. And then I find that sometimes when I go back, like now that I know what it means, I'm able to like pick up a lot more. I'm like, oh, like, I understood like some of the words in that sentence, but like I didn't really understand what they were saying. And so like getting the English translation, I can kind of get some of that. But I don't do that much. And it's actually, there's some really, really interesting moments where I will like feel like, again, this is like a important conversation. I want to do this in English, and then I'll watch it through in Korean, and I'll feel like I actually pulled away enough that I didn't feel it was necessary to go back because I like understood enough. And that's always a really cool feeling. And so I've been watching, these are pretty long episodes. I've been watching, I would say around, 40 minutes to an hour a day. That's what I've been trying to go for. And then I wrote here for myself to try to do a grammar article or two a day and maybe a little reading. I have not been doing really that much grammar at all. I think that's probably something to incorporate. It's really like so little. It's like 10 minutes, and I totally have 10 minutes. The reading what has been great is I've been reading this Ollie Richards short stories because I got a Kindle and I have a e-book version of this that I put on the Kindle. And basically I have one class where the teacher is very strict about phone usage, but she's okay with me using the ebook. And so before there was all this time where I was literally just like staring out the window, and now I am, reading, and I found that really, really enjoyable because it's a lot better than staring out the window, right? If you, I think it's a kind of a perspective shift, right? Like if you have opportunities to like be on TikTok, right? It's really hard to not be on TikTok. But when like the only other thing comparatively to do is just to like stare at a wall, the Korean is really fun, and I just enjoy the reading, and it feels it's the perfect level, I think, for me, and it feels really cool to like read a story in Korean. There's some good vocabulary to pick up, and I've been doing that, and so that's maybe like 15 to 20 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. Something else I did a lot this past couple weeks is rewatch a lot of the old Matt vs. Japan videos. So I put together a playlist of a lot of the good ones. And Matt vs. Japan's channel is pretty much abandoned at this point. But I think that it's a really great resource. And so it's kind of like AJAT. I guess I looked and the AJAT website basically got destroyed, which is kind of unfortunate. It was super abandoned, but if you like could dig through all of the crap, there was some really useful information. And that's how I feel like Matt vs. Japan channels is now, where there's a lot of crap, and he also hasn't posted in forever. But this playlist, which I can put in the description if you guys are interested, has a lot of gems. Like this is the role of the SRS video, fantastic. Why you still can't understand your target language, fantastic. The theory versus practice video is fantastic. And these are just like really, really good language learning philosophy videos that I found really, really helpful. So in the role of the SRS, he basically talks about how it's totally like you could totally learn a language without using an SRS at all, like just immersing. But where the SRS comes in is when you're immersing, like if you look up a word, you kind of understand its meaning, and then it basically kind of fades away. But if you can kind of remind yourself of that word, that can really help strengthen that. And you only acquire a word through immersion, right? Through seeing it in context like a bunch of times. But where the SRS can help is it helps create like mental dictionary entries. That's what Matt says, where you still need to fill in what the like definition, the like what the word means, but just kind of having a mental dictionary entry that it exists and like maybe part of its meaning can really help it stand out in sentences in your immersion. And so that's after I watched that video, that's when I started doing Anki again, because I think obviously the value is there. But I think I really do. I was talking to my therapist a lot about this today, and I'll put the video back on. I really do believe Matt and Refold and AJAT and Stephen Krashen when they say that like really if you the two factors that that determine your like level in a language is the quantity and the quality of your input. Like I believe them. And I believe them when they say that it takes, hundreds of hours to get started and thousands of hours to master it. And so I think it becomes an interesting motivation thing, because, you start doing the math in your head and you're like, wow, like on the Refold site says 500 hours, right? That was, what I talked about in the first video. And you're like, okay, well, there's 365 days in a year. So maybe at an hour and a half a day, it'll take a year, right? And then you get 9 months in and you have not been doing an hour and a half a day. And it feels a little rough. It's always really hard to kind of be, again, 9 months into something and feel like, if I had only done like 30 minutes a day, an hour a day. But this is where we're at. But even again, to get to any real level, like if you think about like a baby takes like 2 years of just tons of input constantly 24/7 before they even start outputting. And I would say like that's like kind of similar to like probably the standard Refold path, right? Like they say you like shouldn't input until you're like a very high level, right? And you're talking like a year and a half, 2 years. I'm curious what on the Korean fluency path. Uh, yeah, yeah. They say basically you don't start outputting until 2 years. And so I think it's very overwhelming to look at it on like that big of a time scale. You're like first of all, like committing to something for that long is like it's pretty intense, right? Like that's like you're like, wow, like am I really going to do this every day for 2 years? But I also think that that's what mastery takes, right? Like if you want to master a skill, it takes a lot of time. And so I think that learning a language is something I want to do. I think Korean is the language I want to learn. And so I think, that's what it takes. And so there's only one thing you can do. You can start today or wait for tomorrow. Not really. Or like, I don't know. This is turning into a bit of a motivational thing. But like I said, there's only one thing you can do, which is start. And so I think getting back into it feels really good. And I think I'm going to try not to think about too much of like, if I do this many hours per day in this many days or this many years, because again, like on the time scale, we're talking like years, like maybe like if you have something where you're like, okay, if I do this every day for 3 months, I'll finally reach my goal. But when you're talking on the time scale of years, like I don't think you can think like that. I think you just got to think about like, this is what I'm doing every day, and you just do it every day. And eventually, progress will come, right? But I don't think it's worth it or it's smart to think about it on like a like if I do this every day for 2 years, then I'll be good. Because I actually think that sets you up to fail because you're probably not going to be good at the 2 years. I think you'll always kind of fall into I could always be better. But so yeah, 9 months in and a bit of a fresh start, but again, I do actually feel pretty good with my skills. Like, I watched Singles Inferno, and there's a lot of stuff I understand. So I think it's just kind of for next month. Let's write some goals down. So I think kind of stick to an hour of active, 30 minutes of passive, 15 of grammar for a month. Like, can I do that every day for a month? And then 15 minutes of grammar. Yeah, okay. So hour of active, 30 minutes of passive, 15 minutes of grammar for a month. And then I think let's not do Anki. I think we're not going to do Anki. Because I did like 5 days of Anki this week, and it was really not fun. Especially because like I do it during my lunch period where I'm really not doing anything else, but like I would also watch like the Netflix show during my lunch period, and that was really fun. And then it was like, okay, now I have to go not do fun to do SRS. And the immersion, I think, like you will learn if you immerse. But I think like if you like, I've definitely fallen into the trap before where I do my SRS for like 30 minutes every day, and I feel like I did a lot of like Korean work today, but like really you're just like memorizing, you're not really acquiring. So I think that's the goal for next month, and we'll see how it goes. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me. I know I haven't posted anything in a long time. Definitely leave a comment about your motivations for learning Korean, your thoughts on how long learning a language takes, and how you kind of mentally process that, and how you think about progression, and I think it has a lot of kind of universal things with a lot of skills, right? Learning an instrument, I think, I picked up piano recently. I bought a keyboard, and I think you kind of get hooked in by seeing these like super cool piano covers, when realistically, right, like you won't be able to play that stuff for like years, right? And it takes a lot of time and practice. So if you have any experience with any other hobbies you've reached mastery in or attempted to reach mastery in, definitely leave a comment. I read them all. And again, yeah, just thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in a month. All right, goodbye.